Hi everybody, it's Jess, your go-to Street Fighter bestie, and we're here with some more uncut battles from the second episode of World of Street Woman Fighter. I'm excited to take a look at them. We got some group ones, we got some solo ones, so I think this is going to be really fun. In another video, I'm going to be approaching and tackling the class rank mission for 2 of the classes that took place in the episode, so be on the lookout for that. All of it's available on Patreon as I record it, so if you don't like waiting and you're impatient, that's the perfect place to be. So I am excited to dive in. I'm ready. I hope you are. Let's go. First up is Logistics versus Lift J.
Ready? Fight!
They're going at the same time. I have my VPN on. So, if there was a tie, they would have shown it. Like, there would be 2 videos. There's only one, though. Okay. Ah, that was a nice moment there. That was cool. If you see where Logan is placed, I can see Logistics take this one. Ooh. This is a tricky one when it comes to songs. Let's let them have their moment. That was super cool. My vote would go to Logistics for this, musicality. If I'm staying true to what my criteria was from last week, it's musicality, technique, creativity, originality, vocabulary, complexity, just off the top. So I do know there's performance, there's who wants it more, coming out of some of our feedback that we have here, which they can feel how they want to feel as judges here, right? I mean, we've all kind of moved on, I think, at this point, right, from last week. Going into this, it is interesting that we have them going at the same time and we don't have a second video. So I'm assuming that this was something negotiated in the episode, maybe, where I guess it was just taken to a tie, compilation, whatever. But then they would show the unaired first round if this is a second round. Anyway, she goes, she hits it, come on. She does a backflip. She drops out of it, which is really nice. Then she drops into a windmill. Goodness gracious. So we have overheads galore coming from Lift J, and we got power moves galore from Logistics. So it's really one of those things where she knows how to play, is what it feels like, right? I'm surprised they didn't blur out the Bulls, but I know it doesn't explicitly say Red Bull, so I think that's fine. Love that. She's fantastic ear. Logan does, right? So I love that moment there where she goes, really freaking sick. Come on, footwork. And then she rotates it around, which is really nice. And then she honestly takes it, I would consider that more of a Valdez, but I could be totally off. Top rocks on that. I love that ba-da-ba. And they hit it down. They slide it over to the side. I love that there, where we have a drop level. I mean, that was super cool to watch. Really dope exchange in that moment. But if you're noticing, a lot of Logan's choices are catering to who needs to watch it, which would be your judges, because they're making the calls, right? Sweep around, which is nice. She takes it, roughs it around. That's technically the second time we're seeing her do that capoeira-inspired movement, or Valdez. Yep, turn it around. So this is such a fast BPM too for Lift J to navigate through, which is possible, but when it comes to who wants it more, it looks like Logistic wants it more, but we're not using that for our criteria. When it comes to musicality, integration, and levels, Logan has that through and through. Also, when it comes to focal point moments or vocabulary difficulty, Logan is definitely showing that here as well, which is super cool. She hits it, sends it out. She takes it, little Brooklyn top rock, and then she sends it over the head. Love it. So that was a fun exchange, is what this is considered, more so than like, I disrespect you, I want to beat you. No, it's an opportunity for us to see 2 people that are incredible at their craft go head to head, dancing at the same time, mind you. It feels like decisions can be much more clear when you have people dance to the same track, right? So you could easily measure who was able to bring more complexity or creativity to it. So yeah, my vote would go clearly for me to logistics. No, not because she's American. No, not because she's the only breaker. It's basically picking between, I mean, if you're thinking about it, I have way more on camera admiration for Lip J. So normally you would assume that I would go for who's somebody that I've really appreciated. I appreciate both and I respect both. That's the beauty of the show, is everyone's freaking great, right? They just have different skill sets to get brought to the table depending on what part of the show we're in. So here you got two of these girls. They're very dominant in their craft in their respective circuit, so we get to appreciate it here in the battle round. So that's why my vote would go to logistics, was because of the musicality, the levels, difficulty, vocabulary, use of top rocks, go down to the power moves. All of her key elements were through and through justified, which was very nice, very captivating, and she put herself in a position to be seen, which is very helpful here. All right, this is considered a blocked one, so hopefully based on how I edit, this will make it through. We'll see, make it cut, but it's all on Patreon full screen. All right, so I think that's the only 1v1 that gets shown. The rest are going to be groups. Is this a true commando routine? Off on timing, but then we got it back together. Come on now. Chubby waist, legs in shape. Yep. Nice. Good timing on that. Mother, father. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Nothing crazy there. They're like, come on now. Bringing it in. Hey. Okay, they were off in the beginning of that. Same song, thank you! Hey, okay. I appreciate the readability of that. Their choices in their commando weren't as risky in terms of the types of syncopation you could go off of. They're ending up repeating that. Okay. Oh, we're doing it again. Here we go. Strumming, nice, okay. Oh. At the same time, it looks like, yeah? The song is wild. Okay, so it looks like it was a routine with two. She's like, I want you. Interesting. Man, so for these, I may give like, okay, this is tricky, because it's three sections. You don't see these types of structures regularly, which is why it makes it hard to be like, okay, based off of what I'm exposed to, here's what gets measured. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first, we'll just go round for round. First round, my vote would go to RH Tokyo because of the clarity, readability, and the lack of mistakes. I appreciate and I want to recognize, however, Ojo Gang had more complexity and they had more risk-taking in their choices. If they were clean, my vote would go to them. But because it wasn't in the setup, that's an unfortunate thing. Also, we don't know what the rules are. They probably don't have rules when it comes to usage of group commandos, which is what you end up seeing happen with RH Tokyo, where they're integrating the whole group involved and helping push the environment that's set and the tone set from your members. You can do that. I have seen that before with crew battles. Does that become the determining factor? I mean, I think it can be helpful in solidifying a win for your crew. And there's a chance that RH Tokyo may pull a win for that being a reason. Music made you lose control. I want to say that I do appreciate the fact that we're dancing on the same track. Why weren't we pulling this in the 1v1s? Anyway, here we go. From the top. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Yeah, all that there. So you saw Minami was on a different timing than that's oh my gosh, Juna, right? Okay. The pickup, but then they get it back together. So that first 8 count didn't tone set as effectively coming into there. And then the little breath was really nice, hitting out in with the clap. So with complexity, this is so competitive. It absolutely is, especially on this track. Yeah, so it goes nice speed changes, good control. Turn around, the punch, they hit it, low high, the level changes. I like the tension on that as well. I mean, if you're going to make a mistake, make it early, don't make it later. So, I mean, can that be helpful in this sense? Maybe. And also, it looks like you're picking a vote for a team based on all 3 rounds, not just the first round. But I'm going round for round here. The hit over with the double hit from one side to another. Then they bring it up and around, they turn out of it. So this is that was considered a routine, because I've heard the difference between a commando and a routine. Routine lasts longer than 4 to 8 counts. Commando hits and sits in a 4 to 8 count, which is why the crews were doing the crew like everybody who's more of a commando, and then seeing these 2v2s are like technically routines, but I interchange it. It just depends on the amount of time. The punch is really cool, and I like the swing out of that, which is really nice. High, mid, low again. And they're like, come on now. She's telling them to come on. That's a little indicator where that was really cool. We didn't technically see any of these incentivizing moments from those that were competing in their routines to incorporate a commando from the team. But we did see it here with Ojo Gang. So it's little things like that. What RH Tokyo didn't have in complexity of their routine, they made up for in readability, the cleanliness of it, their usage of a fundamental technique, which is nice, but also how they integrated a commando without it being predictable. So we have them pushing forward. I really like, it was definitely giving walkout, popping. There's your Fresno coming out of that. My note is in the Fresno, you want to be mindful to swing it when you're going to do it. So they're showcasing clarity. They've been together from the jump. Now, somebody in my comments on Patreon asked, wouldn't it be disadvantageous to go first on the same track? Yes, that's why most people want to go second, and which is why a bottle gets involved. And a lot of times, I think it was in Street Dance China season 6, the very first season I reviewed, funnily enough. And when it was, oh my gosh, was it Tahiti versus Boo Boo? I'm trying to remember if I'm saying the right people. Yeah, whenever they were going, Tahiti said, hey, I'll go first out of respect to Boo Boo, because if you want to beat, like a mentor, if you want to beat somebody that you respect, you go first, because you do it with the most disadvantaged role. You know what I mean? So I think when you look at pros and cons of who go dancing on the same track versus everybody gets the same opportunity on the same track, I think it's better for a judge to be able to judge off of 2 people competing on the same track than 2 people getting the same, like getting different tracks to justify is kind of my point. So, and also if you're really, really good, it won't matter because if you go first, you can tone set so well that the person who responds is underwhelming, boom. And then the opposite can be true, where if you go first, you kind of tone set and the person after you is able to one up you. You never know until you're put in those positions. So that's why at the end of the day, my preference is always going to be, which is what it is, you dance on the same track because you're able to way more clearly measure what you're looking at. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the Fresno, the switch up there. But notice they're hitting a very, their pockets are more predictable. So what I mean by complexity is when you notice the timing complexity of Ojo Gang, where they were hitting and syncopating, and it really sounded like their choreography was matching the track. Here, in this case, it was giving more of a safer route where I'm going to hit pockets 1, 2, and 3, and I'm not going to deviate from them. Pocket 1 being just on the 1, pocket 2 being on the 1 and the 3 if I'm doing a time signature 4/4, and then pocket 3 is on the 1, 2, 3, 4. And so they're hitting those things, but they're not deviating from it as aggressively as what you're noticing from Ojo Gang. Once again, if Ojo Gang was cleaner on this first round, they could have taken it, but it's considered a mistake, and it's not a proper routine setup. So yeah, so I really like the canon moment that they did there, where one kind of copycatted the other on that, which is nice. So, but notice they're hanging out on that pocket 3. They're not going outside of it too much. The hop hops are nice, and the switch off is nothing crazy there. So it goes go 1, go 2, 3, 4, into a little funky guitar, and they knock it. So that was nice. That's a good texture change, good dynamic shift there. Tone shift. So now we have a love the music. So she's orchestrating with her crew, and then you have this moment here. So she's interacting with them. My gut tells me that was a signal to them to actually all do it together. So she hits it over. So now we're having these little moments with just individuals, just like what we saw earlier with Juna and Minami. They're like, here we go, and then they all join in. That one is more predictable than it's more predictable than other commandos that I saw them do. I think it was later on. But here, theirs was least predictable compared to what we saw from Ojo Gang, right? And then they set it up, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. The clap, they hit it high, low, and like the knock on that loud. So it was a fun gimmick moment. That one right there, you didn't see that one. So that's a proper commando coming out of it. Yep. So when it comes to team synergy, team cohesion in the first round, we're going to give it to RH Tokyo, not because we're in the same thing, but because of all those factors that we brought in. And also, I could be completely wrong, and if there's a battle judge that takes a look at this and they're like, look, I would pick for this group for this reason, that's what's really fun about listening to commentary from like Trix and from Waxy and from people who have battle experience, who have empathized and been on the show. I feel like Waxy, out of everybody, could empathize more than Trix, but in the sense of with the show format in this type of structure, because of Street Woman Fighter Season 2, they did something like this later on. I remember they were on the stage, and you had the whole water moment with Jam Republic, which was really cool, but it wasn't so like go, go, go like this. It doesn't feel that way. I could be so wrong. Anyway, my point, though, is it's a very different structure and dynamic here than what a lot of times in most places we see. So having to calibrate to this firsthand can be really tricky, right? And I also believe as well that, like hearing their perspectives can really help me be able to better frame mine with how I'm looking at these particular components in this show. It's okay that I'm not right. It's okay that I am right. It's okay that we're just having the conversation, introducing different perspectives to introduce into, the discussion, so we all are able to, have a sense of basis as to what we're looking at and why we look at it that way, Anyway, but yeah, my vote would go to RH Tokyo for the first one. Yep, so now you see Aaliyah's living her best life over up here. Okay, so now it looks like it's a 1v1 here, right? It feels like a little call and response, doesn't it? She said, what's up? And then it's Kyoka. All of that with the strobing's really nice. Kyoka's so freaking strong in her fundamentals. It's wild. Set it back up. Yeah, John Stockton. And then she controls the space, Kyoka does, right? Oh, I didn't say who would take it. My vote would actually go to Kyoka here for Ojo Gang. Right. Yeah, little Harlem coming out of it's really nice. It's traveling it low. Come on, my little Dougie. Really nice. So she's a little bit lower coming out of that. Yeah, they both hit it up, but Kyoka took ownership of it. Why? Because she's more in front. And that's the downside, unfortunately, where it's a because you're dealing with a panel like you are, these types of moves that are being made where I'm going to the front, fighting for the front, that's what is helping advocate for them to get a victory on their side. So tailoring it up. So nothing crazy there. They both did mighty fine. I do believe Kyoka took more ownership of the track when it comes to how she manipulated what we perceived within the track. How we were, you know, my eye was catering more to her. Part of it was environmental influence, where if you notice how she was hitting it up, there were when the tone shifted or like, it shifted in the track. She said it and everybody joined her. That can also contribute to the confidence factor that people are going to naturally be captivated by, right? And that is an element you can measure, right? So from there, my vote would go to Ojo Gang. So it's a 1-1 for me right now. Here we go. This track, we see Ibuki's getting sent. We have, is that Rena? Well, technically, Ibuki's like, I want you, Rihara. Square up with your team. But she's like, no, you battling me. And then Ibuki, I'm turning around face in front. Stay behind me, right? So when it comes to overall tone, like this is really tricky. Out of all three, this one's the trickiest. Which is wild, right? She hits it, sends it low. When it comes to technique, like a strong basis of complexity, difficulty, and technique, we're going to give it to Ibuki. When it comes to who tone, like environmentally, it's all about environment, man. Like who manipulated the space in performance. Both did, but I see Rena holding her own mighty fine on the track and the type of track it is, right? And she's also trying to remain closer to the front as well. That freaking drone needs to get shot down. Goodness gracious. No one wants it and we don't use the footage. Come on, right? So we have a little vibration moment happening over here. You can see it. She's dancing around her. She's like, oh, it's me. She's going piece in, bring it up. She's like, come on. They're bringing them over. Now that is pretty good. That's a really good commando moment there. And that took over, right? And so that's just like when Kyoka took over for Ojo Gang. This little commando moment took over for RH Tokyo. And then she goes hit, and now the eye is on her because she had quantity and focal point moment to help push energy for her. Ibuki with Ojo Gang now gives the impression of disconnect because of the synergy that was brought here. Is that true? I mean, I watched Ojo Gang's feedback. It's on YouTube. Y'all can see it yourself as well. I personally believe... What did it say? Oh, hold on. What is that? What did she do? She's like, here is what they did there. Oh, Kyoka said, yo, it's a 1v1. Why are y'all getting involved? It's kind of deal. And that's going to be a technicality there, right? Where they're adding to it. Now, should this be what determines the win? It's a 1v1. Can it, however, help promote captivation to draw attention to her? Yes, because that's what we see here. But you have a judging panel that's not going to look at a technicality, let's be honest. Unfortunately. I did not finish my thought. With Ojo Gang, I saw their feedback. I saw what they were saying about the whole deal with the show. And, you know, it's a lot of thoughts. And I got to contribute a lot of my own personal thoughts to it. And I'm very thankful they made it. I'm surprised they were able to make it, honestly. They're like, we don't care. And we're going to say what we want to say. And this is our issues with the show. Girl, you and me both, you know? And so it's really cool to get that kind of affirmation from people in the show. Like, we see it as the public. They also see it as participants. So that's a huge thing there. They also said if they knew kind of what was expected, like working as a team or the synergy of it, they would have dressed differently, right? Like, in the sense of looking more like a team. And I can understand where they're getting that from here too. So if RH Tokyo takes a win, could that have been a component that they were thinking through in their feedback that they were giving on their video? Maybe. Right now I can see it be a 2-1 with rounds. I can see RH Tokyo take this here. Yeah. So it's very, very you know, it's a vibe seeing them vibe together like this. This whole rivalry of there can only be one Team Japan. My thoughts, I've said this many times in multiple videos at this point. I just don't know if you're on Patreon or YouTube. If they were allowed to think this way, I think it would be really cool to, you know, hey, let's get both Team Japans to finals. You know, because that, you want to talk about really repping your country? We brought two teams and they both eat. Because they do. They just have different skill sets, but they are so prominent in their fields. So I do believe round 1, I'd give it to RH Tokyo. Round 2, I'd give to Ojo Gang. And then the round 3, I'd give to RH Tokyo. But when it comes to competency of craft, it comes to difficulty, and it comes to the actual foundation, Ojo Gang, right? When it comes to all other components of what makes this how it can be judged, it's going to be a toss-up depending on who you talk to, right? So, anyway. All right. Bums Up versus AG Squad. Here we go. Okay, Commando. Fun. It was like a little basketball moment. Okay. Okay. We've already kind of been introduced to that basketball moment in the beginning, but using her head, it's a fun moment. A little crisscross is nice. Toss is cool. They hit it. We have a lot of this head touching over, which is fine for a concept that they were going for. They're still going. I think their routine's done. They're now just freestyling at this point. They're joining in, creating synergy. That's not considered a commando or anything, I wouldn't say. Here we go. Ooh. Oh, they're giving elite energy. Wow. Come on, join back in. Wow. The reversal, interesting. Okay, moment. Okay, so this is a 1v1. Oh, he's saying they have to go at the same time. You gotta go at the same time. Go. One of y'all's gotta go. Woo, okay. Okay. Wow. This is what? Gaga? Gotta go at the same time. There we go. It looked like Lip J was controlling her there. Do you see how these crews are now learning what they have to do to get the judges' attention? I do have thoughts about this. It's not about the teams. It's about the headspace shift that had to take place, the mindset. I do find it unfortunate that now it feels like a dog and pony show that we're being asked to do for people. I'm not talking about them. I'm saying the mindset of I have to be in front of my opponent. I have to get in their face. I have to do this and show up and show out and be in the front. And we're not talking about maintaining integrity of craft, maintaining creativity and vocabulary and difficulty, and like exploring and freestyling and the joy and the art of the skill set. That doesn't matter to whether or not you're going to getting a vote. And that's really unfortunate to me, is what it truly is giving. It's a who entertained me more, who wanted it more. That's the problem with the criteria. I don't have issues with the people. It's never about the people. It's about the situations, right? I've already, I know Aaliyah posted on TikTok about her thoughts being a judge, and she's allowed to feel the way that she feels. I have mixed feelings about it, but this isn't the space to do it. I don't have a relationship with her. I don't know her. So I can only go off of what was said. So we're not going to touch on it here, but I have seen it. For me, what I've noticed, especially with the public and with you guys in our discussions that we have together, the issue is not the people. For me, it's not the issue of the people. It's a skill set. There's even battleheads that don't need to be judging. There's a ton of battleheads that have no place being a judge at all. And I've touched on it whenever I look to Ojo Gang's feedback, 1,000%. The problem is not who's there. It's the skill set, that's whatever. It's touching on, okay, the criteria that we're using to justify, or like we're here for a good time, or who entertained me more. That really does set up this precedence of we're not caring for the craft. We're not stewarding the craft. We're not taking hold and appreciating, preserving the culture and the history. And that's a concern. That's my genuine concern with it. But I also know too, there's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of curiosity. As a result of people being upset, people get curious as to why people are upset, right? When you have masses feeling a certain way, people start digging. So that's, to me, I'm seeing there's a lot of pros that have come out of this as people get more curious about Kyoka. People get more curious about what are these styles and why are these two women, Ibuki and Lip J, just such prominent figures in whacking. I didn't know this. And they go and they research. That to me sounds like a victory in that regard. Should we have to have something like this in order to promote that? No. So there's always a double-edged sword in all of that. This is what this felt like to me, is a dog and pony show. Of, hey, look at how good I can do these things. And I'm not talking about them. I'm saying like this is what it feels like the mindset has turned into. I wish the format wasn't this way, personally. Now, who do I think would take it? I would say it's a 2-1 in favor of AG Squad. Let's chat about it. And it's very interesting that I say that, because you have AG Squad. They didn't even start in that second round. That also prompts who went first. Was it RH Tokyo and Ojo Gang that went first, or was this one of the first teams to go? Mnet will not show us the actual order. So could this be the first time we're seeing one and they just didn't know? Like, that's one of those things too, is I'm not going to hold for a format that's only exclusive to Street Woman Fighter. I'm not going to hold a crew responsible for not going out when it could be communicated, it cannot be communicated. You got a lot of language barriers, situations that can happen in a show like this. I don't know. We'll see. And especially if you're the first group to go. So now we're going to have a little basketball moment, the little run. So we've already kind of established that gimmick from the jump. Nothing crazy there. It's fine. The pull-aways, I think this is a very strong routine that they did. Traveling it across, I like that. We ended up letting Aiki be a trace through. They place it up. They go, da-da. I like the fullness of that. And the switch off is there, or switching to different places, the high-low. Now we've gone back to the dribble. We've seen that. That's fine. Then we set it up. The travel down. We're doing a pop there, which is fine, but it didn't help in the clarity of this choice with the travel down with the arms. Then they pull the connection there. Is interesting. We do a grab of the head. That's fine. Third time we're using a head, like the actual grab in some way. That is fine as long as you use different contexts. Travel, the knock it, the clap is cool. We toss it. Oh, here's a little thing I want to bring to the table. Do I think there's as many middle fingers as Mnet is claiming it to be? No, I don't. Because I will give an example. There's a network called A&E in America, and there was, if you guys ever watched Duck Dynasty, whoa, I said a wild show, right? And it's an older show. I haven't watched it in Lord knows how long. And there's, in the very first season, in the first couple of episodes, there were bleeping sounds and blurred kind of motions in the shots. And I read an interview, saw in an interview that the people on Duck Dynasty, the people starring in it, they were like, yo, that's not how those conversations actually went. Andy just wanted to start drama. And so they would manipulate footage and edit footage like that. Do I genuinely believe that they're going to sit there and pull middle fingers and toss them into the air? Yeah, there's a potential of that. I know some of our girls are being very loose with some of their verbiage, that the translation is showing a different picture, but it's, they're touching, like they're saying certain words, and that's fine, right? That's life. You're a grown woman. You can do that, right? And Mnet can do with that as they wish. So I do feel like there can be a little bit of, because you saw this little toss that Aaliyah did. Did she actually do a middle finger and throw it away? I don't know. I can't say, right? And so I guess we'll look here, because that little moment there, look in context of what's happening. This feels like it was to provoke these people here, right? Like Aiki and Hyojin, right? So she takes it and tosses it. So she didn't do any middle finger. She just threw it away. Was that where they got footage? Was that moment, or was it later on? I don't know, right? So that a little clap. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on, there's a chance that Mnet's adding blurs and adding beeps or whatever. I don't think they're adding beeps or like whatever. I think they're adding that. They can do that, just like they can manipulate audio. I think there's nothing crazy to not, you can believe that. Anyway, so the little boom. Cool, they toss away. Nothing crazy there. So now, for me, this is something, don't let me notice that you're out of your routine and you're just trying to compensate and make up for your time. That's what this comes across as. Then the subtlety tone shift, nothing crazy. I would say this is better as Aiki. This is one of Aiki's better rounds that we've seen. Turn out of it. She hits it. Also, we have this audio overlay. How was this accurate? Was it not? We don't know. Those types of things. So now they're getting ready. 1, 2, 3, slide in, walk, 6, 7. They're clean, hitting it over. For me, what gets AG the leg up is they're about to have a leg, aren't they? Difficulty in their choices. Also, how they work together as a team. Travel up, they reset it, bringing it down, the little scoop. Then we have a moment with a party, like our own freestyle moment. Their format had more difficulty in how they chose to go about it, because you're going to see Danica come back in as a surprise, very similarly to some of the commandos you saw from RH Tokyo. There was about 2 of them we got to clock that gave that impression, even though they did about 3, right? Swing it over, she does the party moment, she has a captivating moment out of it, the turn, the split. Do you see how straight that line was? Wow. Incredible. Bring it in. Now, she rotates around. Danica's back in frame. There wasn't anything that promoted her to say, hey, Danica, it's time to go back in. She had her moment, brought it back in, they got together. And they do a kip up in heels. Come on now. She does a kick around her. That is impressive, because if you want to get a heel to the face, no one does, right? So she says party moment. That's a really cool commando switch off. That's what that would be considered. They go through, she hits it down, and then she retracts it. So that was a reversal. Very well done. She's showcasing similar choices that she's done before, but also she's repackaged some other choices as well. So she's having her moment. She's like, come here, look at this. They're going back in. So she took, if you notice that she created this space, even where it's kind of like, I don't care, judges, we're gonna live our life. Are y'all watching this? I don't need to be doing no vibrations. I can just make it work with my hips and my booty, girl, is what that felt, right? So now we've officially, so you have Hyojin taking the towel, tossing it to the side. It is what it is. Now, this is where it feels like, do we, AG squad had zero clue. They just thought it was a 1v1, which is how it has been up until this point. They didn't know you had to dance at the same time, right? So she comes out, she sets up her choices, right? Boom, boom. Party. Yeah, they're vibing out. It's not like they're sitting here not going on purpose. I genuinely believe they were giving her space for her to dance. But then you have Sang Hanbin being like, no, y'all have to go at the same time, right? He's like, hey, you have to go. But is he saying it in Korean or English? That I don't know. So they're not listening. They're just looking at what they're saying. They're like, hey, you have to come on. You have to dance with us. So that was like, hey, come on, dance with us. And then she comes in full freaking send. I said for out of the round, so remember I said AG Squad 2 out of 3. I would give AG Squad this, which is very surprising because this is not the same thing as I made a mistake in the choreography, or I accidentally touched my opponent, or I got too trigger happy and I started too early, or I just kept going. It's not the same thing. This to me feels like a logistic production ism, because I would be surprised if they weren't one of the first matchups to go in this format. It's not the same format as what you would normally see, remember? So that's why I don't believe they just didn't go out of that intention, if that makes sense. Now, do I believe that they communicated for round 3 on who should have gone? No, because Danica just went. Do I believe it was the smart move to send Danica again? No. I think it should have been somebody else. But also, the other person that I said was a freaking awesome. I mean, she was great in her signature movement. So I think it just came between song choice. Maybe it was that. And Danica came out. But because we had already seen her, you run the risk of oversaturation of movement quality and creativity stamina and the physical stamina. And that can just be tricky, right? Anyway, but yeah, full send. She comes through. She hits it. She's getting ready. Backspin. She's going. You have your dancer here, but let me tell you, there is beauty in psychology, because at times when you wear red, it's a very interesting thing, right? Let me see. I don't think any team's wearing red, and like their color is red, which I find interesting as well. You have orange and yellow and pink and purple, so we don't have. And we have green. We have blue and yellow, but we don't have red. Psychologically, based on case studies I've reviewed, there are times where red can be deemed as a color of attraction, a color where it promotes and evokes different hormones and emotions. It just depends. Go be curious about that. But I'm saying here, there is an advantage that I'm clocking here of having red in a space of not much red, right? We have this color that she's wearing. It's neutral, right? It's like more of like a navy, just like we have a white. She's got a white as well. Yeah, she hits it. Like, she's still, even though she's in the back, she's still sticking out. Sticking out, standing out, right? She has really a musicality. This is when the case where it doesn't matter where you are because of how full out she's going. Also, is that Nose that's going? Maybe? I don't know. But yeah, when it comes to complexity, our vocabulary choices, how we're hearing our music, my girl right here is, from when she started to now, the quality of her choices were very interesting, very readable, and were captivating, regardless of where she was. Now she's on the side, boom, she travels it through, slides it back. Goodness, very full. She hits it through. You got Nose. I believe that's, yeah, I think it is her. She's hitting a certain flow, and she's giving this type of coasting in her movement quality, which there's a time and place for it, but remember, in the areas of plateauing, these types of choices can make it feel like, okay, it feels like I'm reviewing or looking at something very, very similar, and it doesn't allow me the privilege as a viewer to digest and appreciate different nuances of it because of the circumstance. And so for this sending out, traveling it across, yeah, that triple on that, I wish that she was sent out for battles, but I know that you don't get to choose unless it's you getting to say it on the mic. You get chosen. So this is the unfortunate thing, is she is so freaking strong. I knew she was going to be strong because of the signature movement, and she showed it right here. Come on now. Traveling high, low. That was really cool. Now, this one I would give to Lip J, because foundation, her fundamentals, she brought captivating elements. She had confidence. And then you have Danica coming out. Was that the smartest move? I think we could have brought somebody else out for this to show variety within your team. But once again, that's life. It is what it is. She does a little shimmy. Now that little back bend, the bridge that she did is similar to what she did in her 1v1. And that's something too that I've touched on before, especially with when we saw a lot of Wolflow, right? And whenever we look at battle circuits, in brackets and tournaments. Whenever a judging panel sees you and they're over the rounds, if you're in the same bracket, here I would consider all of these battles, even though it's a different entity, it's still in the same realm of exposure, if that makes sense. And so your judges they're going to be kind of used to seeing some of your movements. They're going to be developing patterns in some of your choices. And so the more I see of you, the higher risk it is that what you're choosing to bring could lower in creativity and originality if I keep getting saturated in it. It's not as unique as it was when I first saw it. So that's why the more you send out somebody, the higher the risk that is. Lip J has battle experience to work through that and navigate through that. Do I believe Danica does? I don't believe so, based off of what I've been able to pick up or what I've learned about it, right? So, but does she hold her own? I think she's very captivating, but Lip J being in front of her, it's just like we had one of my girls from AG Squad. It was like, it's not Alicia, is it? It's like, it starts with an A. She just went with the red and the white. Where she was with who she was against, it didn't matter where she was because of how full out and her energy was. And it wasn't just like full out. It had variety and there was levels. There was so much captivation within her choices, and she was wearing red pants. Red pants. Something to be said about that too. Here, Lip J is captivating from the front. She's showcasing competency of craft, and she is covering up Danica. And Danica's not doing things in particular that are causing the eye to drift from what is the most in front of you too, right? Once again, do I feel like we should have had to do this and we could have just done 1v1 to each other, kept it here and the judges are observing? Yes, you can appeal and cater your choices to the front. We know this because when you talk about with reviews, Waxy talked about Lip J had a strategy with Ibuki of, she caters her choices to Ibuki, but also to the judges because you want everybody who's involved to be a part of it. If it was Red Bull Dancer style, you cater it to your opponent and to who? The audience, right? The audience here, they are considered spectators. We're considered spectators outside looking in. They're not a part of the adjudication process. We are through likes, but that's through the concepts. That's later. Here in this case that we're experiencing, it feels like, okay, now these are not about the team. It's, hey, who can show up and show off more to the judges. Like, it feels, I don't know, yeah, I already said what I said. Could that be considered a hot topic? Yeah. Or an unpopular opinion? Maybe. But that's what this felt like to me, and it just made me sad, honestly, that we're having to sit here and go, okay, who gave it to the judges more? That shouldn't be a criteria for this. It's not about what can you do for me. That's what that feels like. That's what bothers me about it. What can you do for me? That's not your job as a judge, respectfully. I'm here to serve. And whenever we have these types of topics of who's going to make me feel something, that's not, the dancers are serving you. You're not serving your dancers. That's the responsibility you as a judge have. That's what I was taught. I'm so glad I'm like processing through this as we're watching the battles, because that's something that I think is important to touch on. I'm not touching on the character of the people that we're in reference to. I'm not talking on their competency of their respective crafts. I'm talking about what has been said and the things that are being said, right? Yes, we could be here for a good time, good vibes, it's fine, but also we have a responsibility. And especially if it's to steward a culture, like a culture is being represented and you have an opportunity to steward it and to showcase the beauty of it and to recognize the beauty of it, and we're not, and that's really unfortunate, and that's part. Can we blame Mnet? We don't know. It doesn't matter who to blame. It's just, it's happening, and that's why we got to touch on it. And so that's why, for me, I think I'm feeling the way that I feel. Just going off of my feelings, that's what's bothered me about it. It's starting to bother me more and more about it as we're watching these here, right? Is that we shouldn't have to do this in this way, but I'm starting to see it. Anyway, slide throw. With the kick, the lift up and the pull up are nice. So she's having her moment. So we're starting to see some repeated choices from Danica at this point. The lift, it does give me a little Sarah vibe, doesn't it? Love it. The point is nice. Now, it looks like we have Lip J is going to control her in a second, which is really cool. Yep, come on, hinge. She has her moment with the hinge, and then we have some bounces. this part right here. So she has the Dabra, and then she's moving her chest. That was really cool. And she does the kick, really cool moment. Drops it through, and then she gets pulled up. Drop it down, and then we have our legs switch off there, and then she travels it around. Overheads, and then we take it with the hips around. And then we have our moment here. Cool. Now, there are times where I want you guys to keep track with me. Depending on how the last round goes, does that determine the winner? Because sometimes people vote off of their last impression. Should that be the way? No. For a judge, you look at all of it. If I'm supposed to look at all of this, that's how I'm going to measure all of it. I'm not just going to go off the last round unless the first two, it was a 1-1, which is what I was noticing from Ojo and RH Tokyo. Here, this would be the only round out of the three that I would give 2 bums up because of the circumstance and also what was brought to the type of track, musicality, you know, the whole criteria. First 2 rounds, for the reasons I gave, I would give to AG Squad. Now, who wins? I'm going to watch the episode and I'll probably find out. So just keep in mind that if this, I think it depends on what goes live first will determine whether or not I've seen it. It takes about 24 hours after the show airs for me to get access to it for the format that I'm watching it on. So keep in mind there's a chance, just put spoiler in your comment before you say whatever, so I'm not spoiled by the results, because I really don't know what the results are of these yet. And I want to keep it that way until I watch the episode. So keep that in mind. That goes to Patreon too. Okay, next up, Bums Up in AG Squad. Again.
You guys ready? Fight!
Or did I just... Okay, yeah, it's... Is this a tiebreaker? Okay. So they're doing freestyle moments here, so we should be entering into a routine now. Okay. They join it together. It was predictable knowing that they were going to do it. It's very fast in their choices, but at least they're together. Like, oh, so tiring. Okay, and then they just got, and they finished. Ah, okay. All right, now this right here is where they were showing the middle fingers. Okay, judges can't see that. I actually have no idea what they're doing there. That could be the camera. They're like, look up. Look at us. Okay, that's where the middle finger exchange happened, is here. Okay. Okay. Is this just a... Is this a tiebreaker? Hold on. I don't know. That's okay. That's beside the point. It was just a one-off. Yeah, so the questions that I had got answered from the last one because I didn't know if we could call out each other or what, or if this was a we can't decide, we got to see a tiebreaker, which, you know, whatever.
You guys ready?
So we're ready. It's a 213. It's not a full format, so I don't know if it's a direct call out.
Fight!
But Tambourine, she moves forward, but it's technically a 2v2 is what we're experiencing. And the whole middle fingers galore take place here because I wasn't expecting this because, like, I mean, even though I have these pulled up, I actually don't remember what they are. So that's why I'm asking the questions I am, or I'm kind of working through them, verbally processing through here as well. Okay, so I'm trying to think. The reason why I thought that it was a chance it was an Mnet cut was because they can splice where it looks like they're doing a mannerism to a team when that team is not dancing directly to them. They're dancing at another part of the show, but that interaction happened, separated, and then they pieced it to give this facade or give this look that, oh, this happened during this interaction. Here, It did happen. Okay, question is who did it first? Somebody on Patreon, I believe, took a guess that it was actually Bums Up that did the middle finger first, and then AG responded, even though in the trailer, it looks like AG Squad started it, and then Bums Up responded. Right? So there was an order manipulation that did take place, if I'm remembering correctly, but we're going to sit here and watch. All right, who took it? Let's just analyze and let's just talk through all the what ifs, the isms, and the things that we're seeing. Okay, so we have our first member go. First, so we're going more of a freestyle route. Each one passes off and then they dance together. So I like her subtlety, her tone shifts are nice, nothing crazy there. Head nods are fun. So I like that she fed off of that energy, traveled forward. She hits it, didn't look quite complete, looks a little bit choppy in her choices wherever she hits it, and then instead of sending it all the way through that energy, she hits it and just kind of lets it settle wherever it did before moving on. So there's like little situations like that. And the step outs, nothing crazy there. She goes take the tambourine, so I liked the speed change on that, which was cool. The kicks are nice. So do you notice how it's a da 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 da, very quick. It's very fast and syncopated. A lot of risk in not being clean there. They were pretty clean out the gate, which goes back to my previous point. If Ojo Gang had a clean start, it could have been a very different story on their very first 2v2 commando for my vote. Setting it up, the pull through. So they hit it, boom, they knock it. So they have a lot of confidence in projecting forward. They're attacking, they're doing little jabs out of it. Travel through, the hit. It's just really fast. So she goes first, it goes second, talk about, and then they're just going down like, oh, you're sleepy, you make us want to fall asleep. Oh, they're like, oh, you guys are just sleepy, you're exhausting, that kind of stuff. Interesting, right? Okay, so it looks like Monica actually matches what our 2v2 girls are wearing, which is kind of fun. Here we go. They're getting set up. Next tambourine. So it looks like we have two different choices, polyrhythm through delegation, taking place, which is fun. So, but notice they also are coasting through until the phrase resets, or that 8 count resets, which is what we saw from AG Squad, but they had little freestyle moments. They're having their freestyle moment together, which is cool. And they bring it through the open. They opens her jacket, nothing crazy there. Travel it around. They're like, hey, look up. So whenever you see this, they're like, hey, look at me. Don't look down. That can contribute to making it look like we're not confident. So with the chin up, those types of things, right? And the hands up, and then do a little tone walk twist, travel it around, and then we do a little body roll, some connection. She flips them off first, and then she flips her off in return, and she sends it over, and then she throws it away. So that right there, we have an uncut to prove that Mnet manipulated that shot. They made it look like AG Squad started it. No, it was Bums Up. So my Patreon, you were right. And it was, I'm not surprised. Like, because when you look at that mannerism, why would she flip them off and just throw it away unless it's out of response to something? Like, just based on that context. Anyway, moving on though. So yeah, if that happened, that actually happened. Okay, why did they do that? Was it because they were provoking? They were saying, hey, look up? Maybe, I don't know. Will they give context verbally, whatever Mnet chooses to air, whatever, right? Twist. She hits a bump, them bottles, and drink that up, and they hit it, and bring it up. Also, too, I've heard from different people, courtesy of a battle, is it respectful? I mean, this is considered no respect, but is that something that there are judges who can get really, really taken, they can take that in a negative way because it's not being courteous in this space. Like, there's certain things that you don't do in front of a woman if you're a man battling a woman, right? Like I touched on before, there's like certain things like that. Just as Trix mentioned, hey, you don't want to be all up in somebody's space because it's going to restrict what they can do and it can set them up not successfully for their round. Like, it's about fairness, right? And so whenever we're going to bring in that type of energy, it depends on what your judges are like, yo, that's not respectful. That's not okay, because they don't have a relationship, right? At all. So for them to do that, that can have a judge. I'm not talking about our 3 judges here. There are judges out there that are like, you didn't win because you chose to go disrespectful in the space like that. I'm not going to award people doing that. Does that make sense? So that's a very real component, and I'm so curious what Waxy or Trix or J Black have to say. And side note too, when it comes to the commentaries of other people watching the show, I will watch those. Not all of those are going to go on YouTube. They'll be on Patreon for you to enjoy. It's just because I don't want to saturate YouTube with World of Street Woman Fighter when there's other things that people like comebacks in K-pop and other battle circuits. Like I want to give my time to those too because those deserve time on YouTube as well. So from a schedule standpoint, I am looking at stuff, but more of it's going to be on Patreon than on YouTube. Keep that in mind. Anyway, but yes, I'm curious what they're going to say about that because that, to me, I can see that as a problem for the fact that they did that. Because they don't have a relationship at all. So they pick it up, you have a little moment, she did a little fan kick, twerk it up, switch off there, and then a little pulls on the chest. Nothing crazy there. They went, it looks like they took up more of their time. Pull through, nothing crazy there. They double it up. And then she does a kick. She couldn't because Kaya was there, but they approached. So it's just a little, it's interesting, right? Yeah. They were like, oh, man, they know how to hit up mannerisms. That wasn't a very respectful thing for Bums Up to do, just to flip them off. Even if, like, unless, like, AG Squad said something mad disrespectful, cussed at them, did something that provoked that, it's dance. Like, it's not, yeah, anyway. So, that's interesting. Who would win this? If this was a tie, I don't believe it needed to go to a tie, personally. Man, who had a stronger commando? I think AG Squad needed to take up more of their time for their commando or their routine. I do believe we had some not great things happen from Buns Up that shouldn't have been brought into this here. And I don't know. I would say in that feedback, I'd be like, that was not respectful to do at all. Like, there's no place for it. Even amongst friends, you have to be very careful when and where you choose to do that. Now it's great drama. Mnet probably ate that up. They did. They added blurred lines, whatever. But man, okay. I don't know. So my vote would probably go to AG Squad. I'll just maintain consistency because I don't believe we needed a tie, and this is what this feels like. But it's just in isolation, there's too many components for this where both didn't bring anything that was super like head above heels above the other person, above the other team. But then you had that situation take place. So, man, that's unfortunate. Okay. Royal Family versus RH Tokyo.
Drop the beats.
Drop the beat. Oh, this is fun. Okay. Fun little tone shift. This is nice. Okay. Okay. Okay, so they chose to do that kind of add-in. We're like, it's supposed to be two of you. That was a creative way to get... Wow! Wow, I didn't realize how short they were! That's kind of adorable. How they integrated going into the 2v2. Wow! Wow. So, out of the two, my vote would go to RH Tokyo for the first round. I already forgot that they were supposed to go at the same time. See, that's so funny. Anyway. Is this BY? Yeah. Come on, Tone. Okay. My vote will go to RH Tokyo for this team matchup. That first round was very, very well done. All right. So we're moving forward. They're like, what are we going to do? All right, they're getting set up. Little party moment one. Da-da, bum, 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 and da-da, ba, 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 da-da, ba, ba, ba. Let's go. 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so with all of this, I do appreciate how they got into it. I like the vibe. I like the communal vibe of how they're establishing what they're about to do here, which is cool. Travel it across. A clear way to get into their routine, which is nice. They're together. And then it looks like we're trying to take some risks in our choices, specifically with the usage of our shoulders and the switch off of our legs, which is nice. And we have a little party moment, break away. I like her tone shift there, or I like how she does more of a little isolation in those hips, which is really cool. Also, as a side note, this one doesn't feel as much of a, hey, let's look at our judges this whole time, and make it about pushing to the judges as aggressively as I think what we have been noticing in some of the other ones. Yeah, the hit, the knock up is there. So a lot of our full choices are things that you would see in like Afrobeat influence. Start a little guada guada, and then she sends it back. And then we just do a little switch off, right? So it looks like their routine was pretty much on the shorter side, but they covered that up pretty well. It is a 2v2. You can structure it however you feel. She knocks it, and then they join in. Boom. And then they have their moment there, which is cool. Travel around. They have a little boom with a pelvic thrust. Those were fun. Yeah, that was cool. So they had where the primary was more so their exchange against Ari Shokyo's individuals, and then you had their routines. How are the judges looking at this? I don't know. I know from my lens, with a 2v2, you're given 2 rounds. And so 2 or 3, I think. It just depends on what you're at, where it's most of the time you do tend to see a commando or a routine in some capacity when you are in a 2v2. It doesn't have to be in the first round. Sometimes it's in the second round and vice versa, but you normally see that take shape in some form or fashion. But yeah, all right, here we go. She's moving forward, living her best life. She's like, oh, hi there. I love how she's establishing her tone and how she's traveling over with her hips and how isolated they are. It feels like she's matching their energy, which can be very helpful. They hit it over, so they're like, hey, it's supposed to be 2. Why is there only 1 person? She travels. She does a little, oh man, hold on. There's a name for that in Afro. There is an actual like term for that. So I'm not calling it a walk it out or anything. Maybe we could, or if we're going to give it an equivalence, but I don't think that's what that is. And then you have Rihana join the chat. She's like, oh, me? She's like, okay, join back in. Let's go. Come on with the heels. Coming across. So they brought complexity. They syncopated. Boom, and I like that they tapped it. They were clean. The boom, boom, boom with the travel up, nice and ISO'd. They brush it, they flick it, they go, ooh, and then they take it, the crown, and then they bring it up. That is a proper gimmick disc right there, because that's royal. They hit it, boom, boom, boom. I love that they're all like, where are y'all? I did not know how short they were. They went to a network. That's adorable. Like, it feels like they're fun size now. This is awesome. Trailer around, little pot of beret coming out of it, and then they rotate it through. So good on the shoulder flexibility on the travel around. Nothing crazy there. Da, da, da. So I boom, da, da. I like that we have that, and you have that. So it does feel like it's catered to the music, which is really nice. That's successful. They take it, they go boom, boom, brush it, da-doom. They bite it. They're like, oh, us? Then they get everybody back in. That's a group commando there. They never said you can't do that, but that right there, boom, sealed the deal on that round. Very strong, very strong. That was such a strong first round from them. Probably, honestly, that's probably the strongest first round that we've seen from RH Tokyo. They're all listening to it. Bum, bum. Dun, 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 dun. It feels like somebody's featured on this. Dum, bum, 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 bum. I've heard this before. Da, 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 da. That's beside the point. Anyway, she sets it up. Now, some people might be like, oh, RH Tokyo has an advantage because it's Asian track. For me, I'm like, yo, it's in Korean. It's still not something that they got the same amount of, you know, what is it? Their advantage could be they may have heard the song before, maybe, but also it's like, it's not a language thing that some people have used as a reason. Not for this battle, of course. I haven't heard anything about this battle, but that's just, I've heard that, where it's song choices favored other crews because they're Asian. If it's not in their native language, they're going to run into the same language barrier problems that you will, right? Just like if you have a song that's in English, they may run into that problem, you know, because that may not be their language they're fluent in to understand the wordplay of it, right? So I can't, I'm just saying, like, I've heard that, and I just think that's bonkers that we truly believe that a team's going to get so much. Like, Team Korea could probably have an advantage, but this isn't Korea, this is Japan. It's a different language. Anyway. Could they have heard it before? Maybe. I don't know, but anyway, the travel around. So she brought it up. So she has a very nice, captivating presence in how she's shifting around the space. So that's really cool. That can help her a lot. When it comes to some syncopated choices, I really appreciate what she's doing. It's really nice. Travel around. So it looks like, I mean, she is getting in front of her. Wow. She's traveling all over the space. Interesting, her choice, too, as she traveled it. So she's actually vibing it up to the team, which is cool. Yeah, so do it. So they go and they pop away. And they're doing some step touches. So that's giving a Kindred, they not like us vibe right here, right? So a little party moment there. I wonder if other teams are getting not annoyed or frustrated, but they're just like, yo, RH Tokyo, stop using your whole team. It's a 2v2, it's a 1v1. Just square up as is. You know, but I don't think there's no rule that says you can't do it. So if that's going to help you, don't fix what ain't broke. Like, that's something that you can bring but that's also the catch-22 is that some teams didn't know, like, the kind of show this is. And I don't think they had something like this in the previous seasons either. So it's not like you could do research and prep it. You know, they probably told you got to have commandos, you got to have this kind of stuff. Yeah, but, I mean, that is something you can think about. It just depends on your circuit. And with this group of judges, there's a chance that they may be eating it up every single time, and it just works circumstantially in their favor. The hit around, so she punches it, nothing crazy there. Yeah. Travel, I like her subtlety, the lethargic perspective she brought in that, which is cool. I think this was a strong round coming from Royal Family for the 1v1, and they finish it out, but not everybody did it, right? So that, I want to consider that successful, because you got a couple people vibing out, but it just kind of looks incomplete. They roll out of the way. They are having a vibe. So they send her out, so she hits it, boom. Notice that Rihata set it up, and then everybody joined in, and then it caused a response. That's cool. Pushing her out, and now we got another moment. She hits it high mid, so now you ended up running into a similar problem. Not problem, but like similar case of what happened with AG Squad with Danica, right? So coming out again. So there's your vibration. Now it's their sound to justify that vibration to that degree. There's that boom, boom, boom. So it's cool. Her vibration was cool. There wasn't enough sound to justify it all the way through. It was a vibration choice on a pocket of music that didn't solidify it in timing, but it's something we can still recognize and appreciate. Travel through. Very captivating coming from her as well. She pulls it. Nothing. I mean, I know the key word that I feel like I'm saying a lot of, it's nothing crazy. That's my point, though, is that there's nothing happening here in most of our crews and most of our teams that's prompting this I've never seen that before response. Oh, that's the most creative thing I've seen in a commando. It's a not battle for brand, but here's this brand that I carry as a team, and we're showcasing that, which is cool. But there isn't anything a lot in most of these battles. There's very few moments where I'm like, yo, that was sick. It's these are cool moments, but I wonder too, because we have to remember I'm a human at the end of the day, and this is one of the things I was nervous about actually watching the episodes was, can that influence how I look at these? And that's why I never watched them, because I only wanted to look from an analytical viewpoint and never from getting in the trenches of the episodes and how Mnet manipulates them. So maybe this is just a growing opportunity for me. So if I'm being honest, even with all my votes and all the things I'm looking through, some of my perspective that I'm giving into this, I don't know if it's because of how I know the judges are operating or how the space has been cultivated. So that's something to keep in mind too, if you don't agree or if you agree. I'm operating from a potentially corrupt lens at this point, which is something that I really am saddened about, the potential of that being the case. I feel like I'm able to do okay, but I'm just gonna be honest, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job right now on, picking is picking, but like talking through my why. I just don't feel very good at it right now, so I'm so sorry if that's bleeding over and you're like, Jess, you're not making sense. I'm trying. Anyway, but the press over, because I know that the judges are looking at captivation and those things, and I'm noticing myself going, okay, that person's being more captivating, even though technically my girl over here is showcasing more technique and more foundation, but I understand that my girl over here is showcasing and more captivation, either through her height, through what she's wearing, through her movements, whether or not they are fundamentally sound, but because they're going at the same time. That could be another reason too, is that these 1v1s we can't directly give proper attention to both dancers. And it does come down to that more subjective criteria that's been established of who wants it more, who shows me they want it more. And then it turns back into that make it about what you can do for me mentality, whether or not that was the intention, right? So this is tough. This is tough for me to do. So she's hitting the bases on that, which is fun. So she's hitting the vibrations. Who has better technique in these types of choices? I do believe RH Tokyo does. Who is using the technique in a way that's standing out? Moana is. She drops it low, which was a cool moment. Travels around. So notice she's traveling more to the front. She's living in her own space, which I respect both. Pull downs. So there's not a lot of sounds that she's hitting or justifying. In those cases, she's just doing movement, which is cool. She's at least phrasing it and she's being clear in it, but there's not music that's complementing it, which is what's working against her choices. Pull back. Travel around. So that was interesting that they both made a similar choice out of that. So travel through. Swing. Yeah, so that looks like we did a little Jono clap moment, but not like a full one. We just had some influence of the chest. Traveled around. Her pulls are nice. Look at that phrasing with the glide. That was so interesting, right? But we couldn't appreciate it because they're going at the same time, and I'm trying to follow both. I like that they are all just watching them. They're now in their own space over here, ignoring our judges, right? She ends up doing uppercuts on that. Yeah. Okay. That was fun. I appreciated that they had a good time. There was a good exchange out of it. That was cute. I like the smiles. That felt like a fun time, right? Win or lose, whatever. Who would I vote for? I said RH Tokyo took the first round, the second round. I see Royal Family having a captivating element on the solo sides because their height can play a role and they're going at the same time, and what RH Tokyo is wearing can hide a lot of their choices, especially how far back they are. And so that's something to think about. And then also know who your judges are. It doesn't, in those spaces, it does suck when you encounter criteria that's unclear. But whenever you encounter what criteria is getting discovered, use that to your advantage of the knowledge that you know and make that a component. But then it runs into the problem of the thing of what it was making me feel. And what I was noticing was it's making it about, let me please my judges, not the judges are there to serve and provide feedback as an outside perspective with experience. You know, and that's unfortunate. And that's just across the board with battles. You're going to encounter battles that are like that. The reason why it's such a bigger deal here is because you are hearing the judges' feedback here. At battles, you don't hear it as much unless the dancer asks, but you do hear that kind of feedback at battles too, especially from older, not just from them, but it just reiterates my point of, not all people who are proficient at battling should be judges, just like not all dancers need to be teachers. It's a different skill set. Being a dancer allows you, as a teacher, to empathize with your dancers. Being a battlehead, being a judge who can do the job of judge, allows you to empathize with the process, understand the process, be able to streamline it, right? And there's a respect that comes in for both sides. So all that to say, these were interesting. It provoked a lot of different thoughts that I've never experienced watching the Fighter franchise before. So I apologize if I didn't come across as clear or if my justifications were a bit more muddled today. It's not that I don't have the confidence in my choices. I just didn't feel very confident in my articulation today. I think I'll put it that way. Maybe I'll feel better in the class rank missions because I'm about to review those here. But yeah, I'm sorry for that, and I'm human too, and maybe I need like an audit and a reframework of how I'm reviewing these. Not just the battles, but just how we're looking at the show because I'm actively watching it. I have to keep in mind what you guys are watching with me, alongside what other commentary we're hearing, alongside my own integrity of what I've chosen to view these as well. It's tricky, so keep that in mind. I'm human, and so if you disagree, be respectful, just like I'll be respectful in being a listening ear. So y'all know me, I know you. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.